Well, hello everyone. It has been a minute since I have created a video, and for good reason. I actually just got back from a month of going back to the US, the States. I was in Los Angeles visiting family, and then I went to New York for about 5 days, which used to be my home for 13 years. So I always kind of refer to I'm going home, quote unquote, meaning it was home for a long time where I grew up, where my family is in LA and then also New York. So I just got back literally a few days ago and I just needed some time to process and to integrate everything that transpired, which I'm going to share something that I was able to process and to I'm going to share something pretty big for me because I just couldn't believe that I just couldn't believe that it was something I kind of missed and then was like, "Oh right, this is so important." Which is I told my family how I'm living. And if you don't know, if you're new to this channel, I left my apartment over a year ago. So in May of 2024, I let go of my apartment here in Paris to enter into this beautiful journey of surrender. And I didn't tell anyone specifically. I kept it from my family. My family is my parents and my sister because I just couldn't I was already so incredibly nervous, scared, uncertain about the journey. I had no idea how long I would be living in surrender. I didn't know when the next paycheck was coming in. I didn't know any of those things. So I just, to protect myself, which I now understand I've been doing my whole life, I kept this very big secret from my family because I just didn't want to hear all their worry and all their questions and all their anxiety around how I was choosing to live. And so I thought, they don't need to know, you know? And comment below if you're somebody that has kept something pretty big and major from your family. And so because this was a journey of surrender, which you can take a peek, I like to point these things out. Now I'm getting warm. Because this was a journey of surrender, I was like, it was all unknown. Everything was unknown, meaning I just had no idea what to even say at that point, right? So, okay. So now it's September and I'm going home or to where my family lives. And it was interesting because I initially thought, oh, this is great. At a certain point, I was like, I don't even think I'll ever tell them because I just assumed that one day I will get an apartment again and I will just tell them that I moved and they don't ever have to know, maybe I'll write it in my memoir and I just know how they are. This is what I said. I just know how they are. They're probably not even going to read it. So it's really not a big deal. I don't have to say anything, right? I'm good, la, la, la. So I go home and it occurs to me there was a couple of instances where I started to question how not telling them was serving me. Obviously, it was protecting me from hearing any sort of negative feedback, any worry and anxiety. However, it was also keeping them separate from who I really am because I recognized through the help of my friend, actually, I recognized that keeping this secret or keeping this truth, I was hiding a big part of who I really am, my true authentic nature, somebody that is incredibly experimental, fearless in a lot of ways, courageous, that I don't just have these like crazy ideas. I actually live through them because I believe experience is our greatest teacher. And so when I was talking to my friend, because I was feeling frustrated because of a response that both triggered me and that I was aware I was getting something out of, this is a family member, she said, well, it could be that you're not allowing them to change. And then I thought, I know. It's like the hardest thing because we built so much of my identity has been built around keeping certain things from my family because in the past, and I'm sure many of you can relate, it was just easier. We were taught, probably as children, that when we did voice a true, authentic thought, idea, motivation, passion, it was shut down. It was, we were told, or we were rejected, right? And like, no, you can't do that. Or, what? That's crazy. So, what I did as a coping mechanism is I just kept all of that to myself, and I was like, I'm just gonna move away first, to New York, or whatever I did. I just, everything I did, it was about, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to tell them. And then after the fact that I've done it, then I can let them know I did it anyway, la, la, la. And it worked. It worked. That's what coping mechanisms do. They keep us, it works for us for a really long time until they don't work anymore. And I recognize that this journey is about becoming whole. Therefore, hiding any part of who I am, especially with the people closest to me, is hiding in every single area of my life. So here I am thinking I'm fearless, courageous, and I am, but I can do that so far away from the people that raised me, So how courageous am I really? And I think the biggest question is, or the biggest epiphany that I had around this was, I am keeping this relationship dynamic going by not sharing the very truth of who I am. And if I'm changing, and I really came up to this realization, which is like, we came here to evolve and grow, then my relationships have to change. And so what's interesting is at the same time all of this was happening, my back went out, right? And the low back, which is the first chakra, which all of this is related, is our root. It is our home. It is security. So my back, like breaking, or what felt like it was broken, I'm in all of this pain. And it felt to me like it was stuck energy. Like it was, I needed to move this emotional burden. I needed to release it. And I needed to tell the truth. So at first, I was incredibly emotional because when you think about fear and a coping mechanism, it's protecting you from feeling all of that pain that has been buried and stuffed in your first chakra, typically, right? Um, just years and years and years and years and years of just ignoring, numbing out, because I've always, the story I had was, they're going to think I'm crazy, so therefore I'm going to keep this from them. So there's just so many layers of that emotion of feeling like I can't tell them the truth, or they'll never understand me, they won't accept me, they won't love me, all of these things, right? And so that first moment of realizing I'm going to tell them the truth, it was like all this emotion. I couldn't stop it. It was like turning on a faucet, and it was just like crying, and I couldn't sleep. And how am I going to tell them? And they're going to think, oh my God, my mom's going to have a nervous breakdown. My dad's going to have a heart attack. I'm going to put them in the hospital. I mean, these are all the things the mind tries to tell you because it doesn't want you to change, does not want you to create this new possibility. It wants you to keep you separate because it's safe. Remember this. Anytime you step forward into the scary unknown, your body and every cell in your body and on your subconscious, all of it is going to be like, nope, that is not a good idea, But because I have practiced trusting my inner voice, I know that it's the right thing. I know that the healing and the freedom I'm looking for is all the way through this emotion. So I've got to feel it all, and then I've got to tell the truth. So getting back to the back pain and all that stuff, I'm recognizing and feeling all this emotion and this heaviness. And then there was something about, I don't know, maybe like 2 days later, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I think I can do it. And so the first person I decided to tell the truth to was who I perceived, because of how she handles things in the past. I perceived my mother to being to me to being the hardest person to tell, because I thought she would react the worst, right? And this is all based on my past experience with her, right? So, but I also know I'm not trying to, like, I'm being really loose. I don't want to make a whole plan or whatever. So we have lunch at her, my old home. And my parents have been divorced for many years. So I told my mom, and then I told my dad, and then I told my sister, all separately. And so when I first told my mom, she was in shock and disbelief, and just like, what? Because this is so unusual. This is unheard of. How could I have, how could I be living like this, and being okay and safe and da da da. And then she got really quiet, and this is an unusual response from her. So I thought, well, okay, I guess being quiet is good. So we just went along our day, and then later questions started to come up, and then I got really, it's funny how triggered I became, because then I was like, oh, this is exactly why I didn't say anything, you know? And I just got really guarded, and like, I can't, dude, I cannot. When I first had this epiphany, when it came up that I had to tell them the truth, my first instinct was like, I'm not strong enough. Like, I can't do it. I can't, there's no way I'm going to be able to handle like all these questions, and it's going to be too much. Right. And then I move through it, and I'm like, oh, I'll be okay. And then just one question or two questions. And I was just like, I was fearing more and more and more and more. And so I completely shut down. And then what happened was, like, we left, and I was like driving, and I just felt, again, sick. Not again, but this was coming up every time I told her. I felt sick. I felt nauseous. I felt like, what was I shouldn't have done it. Why did I do it? Now I'm opening Pandora's box. Now they're going to constantly be on me. Where's the next play, And it was just like a whole cascade of, it was the wrong choice, blah blah blah. And I say this because I've mentioned this before in another video, which is like, we expand and then we contract. And because I'm basically breaking free from the very dynamic that I've created between not only my mother but my whole family base, because I'm breaking free and I'm actually telling the truth regardless of what they say, everything in my body, and like I said, just completely reacted like, alarm, alarm, this is wrong, da da da. But I've done this enough to know that it's always a good thing, that's always going to come up. But when you're in it, it's not like I was able to be like, oh, this is fine. No, I had to feel all of that. I had to feel the guck of, like, just the sickness. It felt like sickness. So then I go and I tell my dad, also very shocked and very like, what? And, very protective and very like, I don't understand. Are you sleeping on the streets? And, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no, like, and I did tell him, because I don't know if it even registered to him, but I wanted to let him know, don't you understand? My whole life, I felt like I never truly reached my potential or reached the kind of success that I dreamed of. And by living this way, by living through my greatest fears, it's allowing me to see how much energy I was giving away to the fear of things not working out. So in a sense, I was avoiding so much of my life, was living in this space of being afraid to go so low. But by actually living through those low moments, I recognized I had all this power back. And also, I understood it wasn't about the external needing to change, that it had to be me. There was something within me that was blocking it. And so I knew if I lived this way, I would break free from the very things that were blocking me from my greatest potential and my highest success. I said something to that effect. And I also said, I wish I could be the version of the version of you, or the version of me that you want me to. I wish I could just suck it up and get a job and, you know, be okay and get married and have kids and do all the things that you wanted me to do. But dad, don't you understand? Like, if I did that, I would die knowing that all of this was in me and I never, ever was able to live my authentic truth. Like, this is me being authentically who I am. I don't know if he understood any of it, but I needed to say it. So then I leave. I'm like, I need to take a walk. This is like too much. And as I'm walking again, just like stomach pains in my gut. Like, oh, what did I do? Da, 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 da. And then the mind goes into, oh, where's the reward? Because this is also something it loves to do. Where's your reward for being so brave? You see, nothing. It was a waste. This is stupid, and you've been brave, but you're still broke, and you're still this, and this is what it does. The mind will taunt you. It will drag you. And I had to go. The only reward is an inner reward, and I know it's there. I know it. It's beyond all of this. I know it. And as soon as I had that thought, I look on the floor and I was like, no way. Look on the floor, walk a little closer. No way. Pick it up. $100 bill. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was so beautiful because here the mind was like, where's your reward? Then I'm like, oh, stop thinking there's going to be a reward, like it's all an inner reward. And then the universe literally gives me a reward, $100 bill. And I had a moment where I was going to take a picture and send it to my dad, but I was like, no, just let go of trying to prove, Um, but it was a beautiful moment and a lovely wink from the universe, like, don't worry, um, you are exactly where you need to be, and everything you're doing is right, and just keep moving through all this resistance. It's passing. It needs to just move. So the third person I tell is my sister, and that one was interesting because I think in my head, I thought, oh, she'll be the easiest to tell because, we've had these kinds of conversations about this stuff. She knows Dr. Joe Dispenza, which is the kind of like, I'm really into his work and I do his meditations, da, da, da. So I didn't think it would be as hard, right? I didn't think the reaction would be as severe, I guess. But what was interesting is so many things came up because I also recognized that, and once again, like, I think this is my perception. I think from her perception, it was like, you think I'm going to be judgmental. And by you believing that and keeping that story going, like, you're creating this version of me, essentially, is what I think she was feeling. And I had already made that awareness. I was like, exactly. This is why I'm telling you. I am aware that the story I have in my head is, you're going to be judgmental, you're going to be this and that, da, 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 which is why. But you have to understand, you still have to get to a place where you feel strong enough, or like, I'm so glad that I didn't tell them in the beginning. I feel like that was 1,000% the right move because I needed to protect myself. And we don't need to share everything with everybody just because I want to be honest, right? There's a certain level of, I have to create this boundary because this is all unknown for me. So I was trying to, I guess, let her know that I still, even with all of that, I was not ready to tell anyone because I was so vulnerable and so at a place of, like, am I really doing this? Like, I was even questioning it. So I couldn't have somebody outside of me also question, especially people that are the closest to me. And so what erupted, because it felt like an eruption of sorts, it felt like we were a little bit sparring back and forth because I felt very defensive, and rightly so, because I'm like, well, da 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 da. And even with that, there was still an opening where I was able to say, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm getting emotional because she got emotional back. It was like if I had an arrow, it was like the arrow just went right into her heart. And it was like this beautiful wave of love. And I was like, all I can do in this moment is just extend love to you. I just need you to understand, or not even understand, just accept that this is where I am right now. That was where I was a year ago, and I'm sorry. And she got it. Like, she's like, thank you, you know? And even in that beautiful moment, the mind was saying, why are you apologizing? She should apologize too. I mean, I'm just stating this out loud because I want you to understand how normal it is to have a contradictory action of pure love and the voice going, you're crazy, or she should be apologizing to you. All of that. It's normal, especially when you are creating a new possibility, a new dynamic. It's normal. So after that, I will say I had another week left of my stay. And the next time I saw my mom, we had a beautiful conversation, probably one of the best conversations I've ever had with her. And I really opened up to her. And I felt really seen. Like, she's like, I don't understand, and it wouldn't be something that I would choose, but I'm starting to accept it. And I said, thank you, And then the thing that I, the thing that I want to get across is that it's really the inner child that doesn't understand that she can be accepted, because all I needed to hear was, you're loved. Like, I love you no matter what choice you make. Like, that's unconditional. And the mind thinks there's conditions. The mind thinks, no, 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 no. I wasn't loved as a child when I expressed this or when I tried to do that. Like, it wasn't that I wasn't loved. It's just the child doesn't understand that she was always loved, no matter what she did. But now as an adult, I can see that, So it's almost like I'm letting her and myself now, I know it sounds very, heady and meta, but all of us can be loved unconditionally, And so it was a beautiful conversation. And then with my dad, he was fine. What was interesting is after I told him, there were things that I would keep from him, like how much I make, when I do my tours or this and that. And then I just felt very free to just tell him the truth, because I was like, none of it matters anyway. Like, when you know that you're always abundant, you're always taken care of, you're always guided. I think the fear in the past of telling him was he was going to say, that's nothing, or you should be making more money, because he has in the past, right? And now I just don't, I want to say I don't care, but maybe it's more like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he thinks or says, because I know this is temporary. And when you know something's temporary, you can kind of move through anything, especially when you have such a vision, a strong vision of your future, where you're headed, or even just knowing that this is all a part of my extraordinary life, every single stage, every single step of this beautiful, dynamic, rich, explosive, exciting, scary, painful, all the things. And to end this story, my back pain, or the pain in my back, completely went away. It all healed. So if that's not also telling that all of this stuff is in our body, and it was wonderful. I realize now I can really feel how much freer I feel, because they know the truth. I also feel like I've created this whole new dynamic between us. I don't have to hide this part of me. I can live freely. And, there's still going to be boundaries. It's so funny, because last night, I'm in a sublet right now, and which I feel very, very blessed to be able to pay to be in a sublet. And my mom called, and I had this moment of like, I was tired, but I was like, no, call her back. Because I used to, in the past, kind of hype myself up. Like, I have to be in a good mood, have to kind of like perform a little bit when I talk to my mom, to, I don't know, somewhat distract her from maybe any sort of heavier emotion, right? protecting a little bit. So I was like, no, just call her, even though I'm tired and blah, blah, blah. So I call her from the sublet and she's asking some questions. Where did you find it? And she, part of this is not having a plan. So I show up in Paris and I'm like, okay, I need a place. So let me, look it up, but also being open to whatever the universe sends my way. So a lot of it is about not preemptively making a plan and just showing up. And that, I know, sounds crazy, but I need to do that kind of work because that's what this journey is about for me. So, anyways, I find this place, blah, 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 and I'm telling her, and then she's like, well, let me see it. And I said, I don't feel like it. And she's like, oh, is it that bad? And I was like, no, it's not bad at all. But in that moment, I remembered when I first moved to Paris and I got my apartment, my first apartment. I was so excited and it was so cute, la, la, la. And she comes to visit. And what does she say? Oh, it's small. And oh, like she was so critical of it. And it really hurt my feelings. And so when she asked me last night if she can see this place, which I know now it's smaller, it's basically a studio, right? I had this moment of just like all I saw and all I felt was that past version of her. And I was like, I don't feel like dealing with this. And so I said, boop, boundary. I said, I don't feel like it, And then I just said to myself, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not going to magically go away, right? And it was I was being real, and maybe there'll be another moment where I'll get a chance to explain to her that was what I was feeling in the moment. I didn't want her to say something that would be hurtful because I wasn't in the mood, and that's okay. This is part of the journey, but I was aware of it. So listen, one breath, one moment at a time. That's all we can do, So that is it. I'm free. The truth is out. And now, more chop wood, carry water. If you know that quote, if you know why I mentioned it, post it in the comments. All that means is it's a proverb about enlightenment, which is like what happens before enlightenment is chop wood, carry water. What happens after enlightenment? Chop wood, carry water, meaning the external may not change, but it's your internal relationship to the external that changes. So voila. Take care, everyone. Bye.